Judy's heading into the store to pick up some flowers. We are going to a art exhibition down in Vicksburg, Michigan. One of the girls I graduated with is having a private art showing down there at some kind of art exhibit facility on Main Street. She sent us an invitation, so we thought we'd go and we're going to pick her up some flowers on the way. And apparently the main focus of this art exhibit is going to be the old mill in Vicksburg that shut down years ago. Quite a few kids I went to high school with worked there, and a lot of their parents and grandparents worked there. I saw a picture of one of the paintings. It had a picture of the old water tower that used to be beside the mill. It said Vicksburg on the water tower, and she did real nice work. The one painting I saw looked really nice. We're looking forward to seeing her artwork, and hopefully we'll even get to interview her a little bit about her artwork and her life and what she has learned about the old mill, because I guess she did a lot of research, and one of the other girls we graduated helped her do some research on it. So, and here comes my sweetie. Oh, those look nice.
Yeah.
That's gonna be nice.
Yeah, they got a nice.
Yeah, very pretty. Okay, now, Deb, tell us how you got involved with the mill project, and also how you got involved with artwork after doing office work your whole life.
Okay, so when I was a senior in high school, Mrs. Vlugel told me that I had natural skill and talent, and she hoped I would stay with it. And my first job was the Vicksburg broadcast, and Marty went there before me. She did. At the time, they told me I was the fastest typesetter they'd ever had.
Wow.
But you know, I was young. So from there, I got into basically real estate, finance, and credit. That's what I went into. I had a family by this time, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I was bringing in enough money. And so I didn't focus on art at all. I did other creative things. So my husband was ill, but I didn't know what with. And so what I did was made a plan, not knowing what his illness was, but I knew it was serious. My best friend lived there, so we moved to Arizona, and I got into photography big time. But as my husband became more and more ill, he didn't feel up to travel. When you photograph things in Arizona, you have to travel hours to get to a monument or a canyon or whatever. And I knew my husband was getting weaker and showing more signs of illness. So from there, one day, it was a Thursday, I remember, God basically said to me, you need to go to Michael's and get paint and brushes and canvas and start painting. And it kind of, you know, was like kind of a shock, and I'm like, I know you shouldn't argue with God, but it was, but I haven't painted since I was a senior in high school. And so he repeated. So I'm like, okay, and I told my husband, Saturday we're going to go to Michael's and we're going to get paintbrushes, canvas, and paint. I'm going to start painting. And he was just like, okay, all right. He didn't think it was weird, probably because he's lived with me so long. And so anyway, I did. I didn't know what to paint. I chose a reference photo of Arizona, Arizona sycamores. They were by a monument. He took me to 3 monuments in one day for my birthday, and we went past this river with the Arizona sycamores, so I painted those. But the real test was the painting in the corner with the perfume bottles. I could tell God wanted me to paint seriously, and I said, okay, I will paint glass. I will paint these vintage perfume bottles. If I can do that, I will believe you gave me a gift, and then I'll have the confidence to paint for you. And so I painted that. It was 10 years ago. And I said, okay, what do you want me to paint?
looks
Then
beautiful.
I was hit. What got me started there.
Cool.
With the mill, it would be moving back from Arizona. We moved to Holland first. My husband was from Holland, and he was ill. So we had housing there so he could see his family before he passed. I wanted to come back to Vicksburg because Susie talked me into it.
And Susie's on the Historical Society?
Yes.
I am on the board,
Yes.
yes. But
And-
I had lived in South Haven at the time, so she was very close to me in Holland.
Okay.
So I went up to visit her, and
So I came back here, moved to Klein's Resort, and Susie actually was part of that too because she told me while I lived in Holland about the Mill Project and about there are going to be art opportunities. So I'm like, really? Yeah, so I was thinking of the mill and any possibility of doing art, really. I could get back to my home community. I could do something maybe a little tiny, like give me a 12-inch square somewhere and I'll have a legacy in Vicksburg, you know? And I clung to that. So once I got back here, I saw a lot about the Mill Project, and they gave us an address to sign up for updates. So I told my dad, did you know they're having annual like reunions where people that used to work there come and they have a big get-together? And he goes, no. So he said, put us on that calendar. I go, okay. So that led to thinking back on my past and my dad working there and how the mill is the heart of the community. So I was thinking, how can I get back to my community? And so I started thinking about doing a project after John Kern invited me to have a solo exhibition. And I thought, yeah, it would be easy to just bring my paintings, but I want to do something to where I'm saying I'm grateful for the mill, what it's doing for our town. But I also was thinking about how it's going to change in such a way that our future generations, like even 3 years from now, they'll have no clue what the mill was.
Right.
I want them to remember. I want them to see what it was, what employed 250 people, what kept everybody afloat. I wanted to do something where they could feel the spirit of the mill, you know. Now I told Susie, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know I'm going to do it. So I knew she was on the board for the Historical Society. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about it. She knows everything about it. So I thought, I'll contact her and see how can we do some research. So she helped me set up an appointment with Leah, the curator. And we went over there, and I was so fascinated. And her birth announcement was in one of the Mill monthly newsletters. We found it, I have goosebumps thinking about it, you know. And I want to research more, but I just came away feeling I've got to do it.
The announcement of when Susie was being born?
well, so my dad worked at the paper mill,
Yeah.
and I worked at the paper mill, and so I'm very invested in the paper mill. So I was happy to help her out.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
But, so you did a lot of the history digging on the mill and everything?
You know, like I said, I worked there. My dad works there. We saw each other at the mill reunion. They have a family reunion of anyone that's worked at the mill, and I think she saw the excitement between all of the past employees.
they
Yeah.
would light up. All the people would light up and talk about the people they knew, the fun they had, how they. My dad will tell you, I love going to work.
Oh yeah,
I
it was a
love
great
working.
place. It was a
So
community.
I
Yeah.
felt, I was in a dark place for so long, right? Very sad and dark and not a lot of hope, you know.
Yeah.
And then I get around this group of people, you know, the age my husband should have been, and they're all happy and excited, and it's all about the mill, you
Because
know.
it's coming back to life in
Yeah.
a different way, but still
Yeah.
it's coming back to life.
I've heard rumors of it for quite a long while, but I really don't know exactly what's going on there now. But I heard there were.
No, they, so the man, Chris Chris Moore, who's a Vicksburg native, he was about 10 years younger than us,
Okay.
I believe. So he has done very well. He lives out in Seattle, and he's invested a lot of money in the mill.
Okay.
So he's doing it personally for this community.
Wow.
So his family, his dad worked there, his grandpa worked there, he worked there. So, I mean, that's deep that somebody
Yeah.
would invest that much money
And I
to bring
heard
it
too,
back.
he's the sole investor.
Wow.
And
That's-
he did 5 years of research prior to doing anything because he said, I'm going to do it right.
And he most
wasn't in a
definitely
hurry.
is. Yes, he's
Oh,
most definitely
and
doing it.
John Kern, the director that's here, he told me today, anything outside the mill building itself, the grounds and everything going on outside, has his fingerprints on it.
I was talking to him a few minutes ago. I'm going to talk to him a little bit before we leave
Yes.
too and get a little input from him.
But when I got here, because I had not seen Deb's piece after.
Oh, I kept it a secret.
Yes. Well, she called me out. I was in New York, and she said, can we get together and just talk about what that community meant to you? And that's when I said, well, we need to go down to the Historical Society because we have a ton of, historical records about the mill. So we went down, we went through a lot of it. But when I got here, and she named it Rags to Nobility, I actually had goosebumps from my tip of my toes to the top of my head because.
That's a really good picture, a painting
Yes.
of the mill. I mean, that's,
But they used rags to make the paper.
Yes.
And it was first in 1903 when it was first built. And so rags to nobility, which is what Chris Moore is making it. I mean, it's going to
And I
happen.
wanted to depict, but I still want to celebrate its beginnings.
Yeah.
Because when we were in high school, it wasn't what it's about to become.
Right.
It's like evolving.
yeah.
So I want the people here today, the people in our age group and older, to remember the mill.
Yeah.
But the young people that have no clue, I want them to respect,
Right.
its true purpose.
Yeah, they need to know that it was Simpson Lee and then it
It's
became
all of
Fox
that.
River and yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was Lee Paper Company originally.
And then Simpson
And then
Lee.
it became Simpson Lee.
Okay.
And then it became Simpson.
Okay.
And then after I left town, which I left, in the late 70s, but yes, then that's when it became Fox River. Closed down in 83
Okay.
or 84 or something like that.
Well,
I think the final
2000.
ending was 2001.
2000.
so Deb, you said this is a painting you did when your husband was ill?
Yes, the date is 6/20.
I can't see it. Oh, there it is down there.
It's 6/20, and he died February 20th, 2021.
Okay.
So I knew.
That's a beautiful picture.
In the
That'd be a
summer.
painting.
Thank you. Well, you normally will not see me do people. I'm more into nature, wildlife. I'm more into landscapes, I would
Okay.
say. But this one, I had the concept. I really felt God gave it to me. And I knew when I painted it, it would be a memorial piece. It would be something I would present only there
Yeah.
for his memorial service. And so what it represents is my husband was born and raised in Holland. He graduated from West Ottawa High School. He always used to go whoa. And so we were living in Holland so he could see his family. He was returned home. And so this represents the shores of Lake Michigan. I remember, this is hard, I remember the last warm day in November, I believe it was November 14th of that year. It was 70 degrees, warm breezes, and everything felt right. He had enough strength. So I asked him if he wanted to go to Holland State Park and see Lake Michigan. And he said yes, he felt good about that. So I loaded his travel wheelchair. I made a lunch for us. And it took a while to get him down to the vehicle. We had to take our elevator and then walk all the way up to the parking lot. And for him at that stage, it was a bit of a struggle. So I pushed him out there, but got him in the vehicle. It's about 20 minutes from where we were living. And when we get there, the handicap parking, there was an open spot right by the sidewalk. And I said, thank you, God. He had a parking spot just for us, so all I had to do was get out his wheelchair, get him into it. And there was a little ramp. I could push him right onto the sidewalk, which led out to the pier.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes things just come together and you automatically just, thank you, God.
I just go, that's how I live my life.
Yeah.
So I got him out to the very end where they had an octagonal picnic table. And I got him all set up. He had a blanket. Even though it's 70-something, he would get cold. Mm-hmm. So I got him all settled. And I have photos of him looking out at Lake Michigan. And he looked so peaceful and so content and just home. And to our delight, some kite surfers showed up. He got to watch them set up their rig and go out on Lake Michigan and go kite surfing. And he just looked so content and so happy. We were out of that apartment, and I knew it was his last time seeing Lake Michigan.
That is so heartwarming.
So in this painting, it depicts him healthy. We're standing there together because that's how I want to remember it. And then he is looking towards the sun heavenward, and he's saying, I've got to go. And I know just by his body language, and I told God, I don't do people, and God is telling me, you've got me, just pick up the brush and do it. So there we are. And if you look, I find it so amazing. Do you see how stiff my arm is? Mm-hmm. I'm holding onto his hand, and he's starting to pull away, saying, I've got to go. And my posture is saying, no, don't. And that was not planned. It's just how I painted us. So it's called The Long Goodbye because it was over 21 years of him leaving me.
Wow.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
That's very sweet. Very heartwarming.
And I made sure throughout his whole journey he retained his dignity. You know,
that's nice.
He knew he was loved, and I took care of every need he had. And I'm not a nurse, but by the time we got done, for him I was.
Yeah. My dad took care of my mom like that. Everybody kept saying, you need to put her in a home, you need to put her in a home. And he said, no, she's my
dad
wife.
took care of my mom at home too, and she died at home.
Yeah.
So we're those kind of people.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in a hospital or in some facility, you know.
Yeah.
So he died at home with me peacefully.
So John, not to change the subject, but John helped you put this together? Is that, he was...
John, I met John October 12th this year.
Okay.
And...
Or 2024, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
First, I approached Chris Moore.
Okay.
It's his project. It's his gallery. Mm-hmm. And he was standing, getting ready to get some food at the reunion.
And Chris Moore is the guy that is investing into the mill.
He's the one. The man,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so I said, I don't mean to bother you, but I want to contribute somehow, and I'm an artist. And who would I talk to about opportunities? And he said, see that man over there? That's John. He's the man. Anything to do with art and culture, go talk to John. So I went over to John, and I only showed him 2 photos. One was my timeless tulips, and the other one was a painting that I've sold that it was called Splendor of the Wild French Horses. And he just said, well, how would you like to take over the Prairie Run Gallery? And I said, really? And he goes, yes. And then I'm like, when? So we started a discussion, and I had to go by their availability, how I would fit in. Mm-hmm. And so I am in between resident artists that they bring in from other states. I'm local, so I just kind of slipped in between their season starts. So that's how it began.
Oh, cool. Well, I want to show your painting of the mill and the water tower.
Okay.
That brings back a lot of memories for me too. I didn't work at the mill, but I did a lot of work in the mill because they were one of my customers.
Yes.
And I had a lot of friends and friends' parents that worked there.
Just about
And,
everybody worked there.
I've
I
been
did
in-
not, but
I've been in almost every corner of that mill looking at different stuff with some of the different maintenance guys here and there, and it's pretty neat, very neat. That's
I
awesome.
am depicting, you know, when it comes to the surrounding scenery, I took a little bit of artistic liberty.
Well,
but-
that's what painting's about.
But the mill, I wanted accurate as can be. So we're looking at probably the 1950s, maybe 60s.
Isn't that cool how they design
Yeah.
mills like that?
Yeah.
You know, in the horseshoe, there's been more than one mill built in that shape, and they're just,
Oh.
it's,
And this mill was, in the 30s, humongous. They tore a lot down.
Wow.
So all I'm trying to say is, I guess I wanted to depict how its life began, how it was the center of our community then, and it's about to be again, but it's evolving into something that is going to be so modern and for a different purpose. I wanted people to remember the heart of the mill.
so they're redoing the mill, and they're going to open up new shops and stuff in there,
It's
right?
going to be concert venues.
Oh, wow.
He's going to have, Chris Moore made his money with his Seattle brewery
Okay.
called Old Stove. And so he's going to have his brewery in here. You're going to be able to have his museum in there. You're going to see how they make the beer. He's added on a huge warehouse where he's going to sell the beer locally.
Oh, cool.
Kegs and whatnot.
Nice.
I believe he's going to have a museum with, when you think of beer cans, I've never been a beer drinker, but I've been around so much beer most of my life from other people.
Yeah.
And all of the labels and artwork and the beer cans, I think he's going to have a museum of the artwork as well, you know, how the cans were designed early on. And so anyway, it's going to be filled. And then I'm trying to remember, I think along here, they're putting in a 75-room hotel.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Cool.
we're going to have tourists from all over.
Nice.
It's going to be so different. That's why I wanted to do this. And I'm telling you to research, to even get an idea what the mill looked like from this side, what that looked like, just to
Different
get what I
pictures and
needed
stuff,
for
yeah.
what I wanted. It was really challenging. The pictures
I bet
aren't
it
out
was.
there. They're not out there.
No. Luckily, you and Susie hooked up because she's part of
Yes.
the Historical Society, so that
Yes.
helped.
Yes.
I like the water tower too. That is really cool.
Yes.
That reminds me of back during school.
I guess the reason I did it, well, anyway, so I'm sitting at Main Street Pub out on the patio, and I'm always looking at the water tower, and I thought, it's a symbol of our town, and then we have our bulldog on there. I'm a
Yeah.
big, bulldog fan. I will always be a Vicksburg bulldog. So I had to paint it.
Hi, John. Now, your name, your whole name.
Sure. John, with an H, Kern, K-E-R-N,
Okay. And you work for the gentleman that's restoring the mill?
Chris Moore.
Chris Moore. Okay. How long ago did he buy the mill?
2016. We've been working on it since 2014.
Okay. I remember hearing about it, but it was just kind of rumors. I grew up down here, but then I moved north of Kalamazoo, and I kind of lost touch a little bit. But it was really exciting to hear that somebody was going to redo the mill and make something nice out of it. A lot of the people I went to high school with worked there. A lot of their parents worked there. So, how did you get to know Chris?
My wife Jackie and Chris went to U of M together.
Oh, okay.
They met in 1985. And she and I got involved with this in, I guess, about 2014 when he told her of sort of the germ of the idea to save the building and to make it into sort of a craft beverage, music, culture hub. Like a destination.
Yeah, that's going to be so cool. I've been in almost every corner of that mill as they were one of my customers. So I'd go in different corners of the mill, look at different projects with them and everything. And I just think that's so cool that it's going to be brought back to life, and that Chris and you are doing so much for the Vicksburg community.
Well, there's a small number of us that are doing it.
Is there?
A lot. The team is now up to, I think, 11 people.
Oh, really? Okay. Deb was just telling me that when she spoke to Chris first and mentioned that she was an artist and wanted to do something, Chris told her, you need to speak to John because he is the one that is in charge of all of that and really knows his stuff. So
That's awfully generous.
Well, it sounded pretty impressive when she was told that, at least from the sounds of it. And it sounds like you really put a lot of effort into helping the community around here.
We do.
That's awesome.
We do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we work with local schools. This art thing is happening. We've worked with the village a little bit in terms of helping plan and execute kind of placemaking events, things for people to do.
Yeah.
So
That is so nice.
because we just operate under the principle of a crowd makes a crowd.
Yeah.
When people see people doing stuff and having a good time, they want to be a part of that. It's human nature.
Yeah. You guys get involved with the Vicksburg Car Show at all or anything like
We
that?
have, yeah.
Have you? Okay.
Skip Knowles is the kind of the organizer of the car show, and we over years, the numbers were dropping a little bit, so we got behind. We worked with Skip and got behind it a little bit, and started posting live music and doing some things just to kind of boost it up to where it had been and to where it wants.
Okay. Now, Deb was pointing at this picture, at the painting that she did there, saying there's going to be some hotel rooms or motel rooms or something.
There's a plan for a boutique hotel.
And a mini brewery.
Actually a fairly large brewing operation there.
Nice.
Lots of hospitality, live music venues.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we've been hosting artists for over 7 years now.
Wow.
On site. So there's some.
And so you have different artists in this location right here that come and set up and show their wares.
We started the Prairie Run Artist Residency about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And over that time, we've hosted well over 100 artists from around the world.
Wow. So now, is it when you have an artist like Deb or one of these other artists set up here, is it open during the day or just certain evenings or?
The gallery?
Yeah, the gallery itself.
The gallery space here on Prairie Street is immediately adjacent to the bakery.
Yes.
And so you could look at it as a sort of a Wi-Fi cafe part of the bakery. So you can buy your baked goods or not, and just come in and you're surrounded by art, and you can sit and relax and have a coffee, check your email.
So it's connected right to the coffee shop, and you come in here and enjoy the artwork.
Through the bakery. Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So, is there any rough guess on time frame of what might be taking place on the mill as far as?
It's an extremely large project.
I can only imagine.
It's really hard to hang a finish date on something so big. As time has gone on, the work with artists and the arts and the cultural components for me has taken up a significant amount of my work day. I work with schools and local universities as well, but so I'm increasingly out of kind of the planning.
Okay.
And that
So your background, how you ended up in this position, how did that? What?
I have a degree in telecommunications from Michigan State,
Okay.
audio and video production. Hadn't really used it much for years because I had gotten into teaching. I taught for almost 30 years.
Okay. Where did you teach at?
Minneapolis, Seattle, overseas for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I helped create online curriculum for an overseas school.
Okay.
So just that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when we got here, I didn't really have anything to do for the first year and a half. And so I kept my head down and my mouth shut. No, I didn't really keep my mouth that shut. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And we had always talked about having this sort of like kind of culture and the color that artists and arts communities can create for a space. And over time then, with the help of many other people, devised a business plan and presented it to Chris. And he went for it because he's fully engaged in that sort of thing. And we just took off.
Wow.
So I don't have a formal arts administration background, but I do know how to treat people right.
That's one of the most important parts right there.
Yeah, I feel like it's everything.
Yeah.
So we treat people well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chuck.
I appreciate your time a lot.
Yeah.
Take care, John.
I'm glad you were here tonight.
Me too.